weekly manicure time. Okay, so, actually I was thinking to kind of point out that although my nails look okay, I still prefer to do them because I don't want the nails to start looking bad and start breaking them before I actually start caring for them or maintaining them. Honestly, it's so much better to do the manicure when the nails are still looking good, so much faster, so much easier. And also when you're doing the manicures every week, you are becoming much more proficient at doing manicures. Okay, so what am I going to use? I'm going to use alcohol. So actually I got this from Douglas and I like it because it just looks so generic. So alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, and this is acetone. So first I'm going to, actually what else am I going to use? The OPI Repair Mold. So it's a bond building nail serum. So the serum is a bit of a confusing name, I find, because I know people that have been using it all around the skin and under the nail as well, which is not a good idea because clearly here it says avoid eye and skin contact. So you just want to use it on the nail. So I'm going to use this, then I'm going to use Blue Cross, and I just got the new bottle. I'm going to use 240, this is 120 grit file. Buffer block. A very simple manicure stick, and my little trouble Tweezerman pushy because I have the big one in the salon. So I'm going to first use an alcohol just to show you how the nails are really looking, and that's what I do. It kind of shows you what the nails really look like, or you can use acetone because it removes all the oils as well. So now, OPI Repair Mold. And this is a step that I like to do actually right after my nail polish removal. So I like to give my nails a day because this is all I need. If your nails are very prone to damage or prone to damage, you might give your nails a day or 2 or even 3 break out of the week. So it really depends. Everybody's nails are different. This doesn't have to be applied perfectly. So I find this, I don't know if it really works or not. It seems to be working, but my nails are not damaged, so it's hard to tell. But I know quite a few people that find it helpful. But what I do find is that my nails are smoother when I use this. So they recommend to basically leaving this on the nail for 10 minutes. So during the 10 minutes, I'm not just gonna sit here and look at my nails. I can start shaping my nails. So I'm going to just wait for this to dry a little bit, to soak in a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to start with shaping this one, and I'm going to make them quite short. They are short, I know, for some people, but I like my nails really short. So first I'm going to shorten them straight across, then get underneath a little bit, so go towards the middle. What I do sometimes is like I bevel the side a little bit, but I do this very, very gently, so I don't really go like this, because this really weakens the side walls. So now I do the other side. So I think I'm going to keep them a little bit more square this time. Either this nail grew so much, or I don't know what happened here. Or maybe I didn't shorten it as much. Okay, so this, now getting underneath. And now I draw this imaginary line in the middle. And then I just file from the corner to the middle, from the corner to the middle, until I get the shape that I like. Usually I like to do it this way as well. Okay, so this is the shape that I like. So now I'm going to try to mirror this, okay, on the other side. See how I can take some from the side here to narrow the nail. Normally I do it a little bit differently. I look a little clumsy. It's just because I don't want to be moving so much when I'm filming, because then it's really difficult to edit. By the way, I almost say that in every video, but almost in every video I get the comments where people are asking, is it okay to file back and forth? And it's absolutely okay to file back and forth. And the reason is because the nails, the fibers, as some call, don't run this way. You're not actually filing against any grain or anything like that. Nails are not made that way. So you can divide the whole nail plate, the thickness of the nail plate, into 3 layers approximately. So we have about 100 layers of keratin. So our nails are made, I don't know, some sources say 200, some sources say 96. I don't know how they're about 96. But anyway, so let's just say around 100. It doesn't really matter. So the first 30% of the nail, so the top layer, is actually responsible for preventing the nail from tearing. So I call it like a protective layer. So that's why it's so important not to buff the nails too much. So a little bit of buffing, sometimes it's necessary for the nail polish to stick properly, or unfortunately for, gel polish to stick properly. But, if you see I'm using the other side, the quite coarse side, and it's actually not very coarse either. Anyway, so the first 30% of the nail is the protective layer. And that layer almost looks like a bunch of pancakes on top of one another, on top of each other, whatever, however you say it. And they don't run in any particular direction. So you don't have to worry. This nail is so weird, but it is what it is. So they don't run in any particular direction. The next layer, the middle layer, is about 50% of the nail. And that layer, actually the fibers, let's call them, they run this way. They kind of run this way. So it doesn't really matter how you're filing. And the other 20%, so the lower layer, the layer that is stuck to the nail bed, that layer is also built looking like a bunch of pancakes, running in no particular direction. So what matters is the grit. So the finer the grit, the smoother the end is going to be. I had one of the viewers, I'm going to file it this way. I had one of the viewers asking, her nails were peeling and she uses glass file, and she was asking if she's using the wrong file. And no. Nails peeling suggests something is wrong with the surface, not the end of the nail. The end of the nail just shows the problem, but it's not how you file. Sometimes I do agree if you leave like a very hard piece. So if you're filing, let's say with this side, this is 120 grit. So let's just see how it feels. So sometimes if you leave, although this side is very, very effective. So you can shorten the nails really well and quickly with this side. And then you can use the finer side if you want to perfect it. This actually gives me usually like a nice, when I do this, nice smooth shape. Because sometimes when people do these kind of movements, you see, it can actually give the nail very uneven look. So as nail technicians, we're kind of taught to stay always on the nail. Your work is much more effective that way. Let's just say if there's a catch here, then yes, this might bother me. But what you can do after you shape your nails, this is a step. So this is 240 grit. Look at this. And I'm telling you, and I show this in every video, this is brilliant. This is actually way better than any fine file, because file is still very stiff, right? So it's still going to give you a very sharp edge, but this is going to give you a very smooth edge. So you can actually, like, you see, go into the nail. You can do it this way. So now I'm almost like playing violin. See how I'm staying on the nail the whole time? I'm not doing this. You can do it this way too, but I just find that this gives you a good shape. So another thing that I'm going to do, and some people have, you know, they are afraid of doing this because they've heard that this can damage the sidewalls. And yes, and you know, in life, nothing is really so black and white. So it all depends. So if you just take a file and very gently just go back and forth like this, just to smooth, I don't know. I used to bite my nails. I'm a bit of a picker. So I tend to, if there is something to pick, it's really difficult habit to get rid of. So I try to keep everything nice and smooth. So if I do this, then I don't pick. But if you go crazy with the file and you remove too much skin, then yeah, of course you're gonna do damage. Or if you really separate the sidewalls here. So I don't overlap, you see, because this is going to obviously file the nail. I'm keeping the nails, keeping the file flat. Just go back and forth, not like this, like this. And this gets rid of, I do that with e-file when I'm working with clients, but guys, and I get so many questions, which e-file should I get? Don't get any e-files. If you're not a nail technician who wants to do some extensive training with electric files, I really don't recommend you get you don't need it. Like, I absolutely don't even use it for myself. Okay, so see the difference? Okay, so let's go with this hand. Okay, I'm gonna use the other side too, because you can totally do it. Hopefully the sound doesn't bother you. This side also is very good for pedicures. Okay, so now I'm going to do it this way because this is how it's just more comfortable for me. It's best to actually try working with a black background. It's going to give you a better, you're gonna see better. But for filming purposes, I like to use a white background because the camera doesn't really, the colors start looking very weird when I'm using black background. I'm going to make it more square. All right. Short. This is so satisfying to be shortening the nails. And another thing too, when you are, I mentioned that earlier, but I'm going to repeat it. When you're doing this manicure weekly, you will become so much better at it and so much quicker. So what at first is going to be taking you, I don't know, an hour, it's going to take you half the time eventually. I'm going to tell you a little story about this little area. So, as I mentioned, I used to bite my nails, and I tend to, if there's something to pick, I pick at it. So somehow this portion always gets a little callous just because I work, you know, doing nails. So I keep the file here, I keep the polish here, and there's always a lot of pressure. So what happens when there's a pressure? A little callus develops, and actually the bone gets bigger in that area. So as you can see, the finger is not very pretty, but whatever. So what happened was, I guess I was doing my manicure, and this little piece caught, And I don't know why. I didn't probably trim it or something, and then I started picking it. So then I cut it. And I'm telling you, once you cut the skin becomes harder and it starts splitting. So sometimes you have to cut it because you just tore it. So if you don't cut it, you're gonna pick at it. So it kind of became harder, and then I picked it a little bit more. So then I cut it a little bit more, and then it became a little bit harder again. So then I cut it. Too bad I actually didn't make a video about it, because this would be a very good lesson on what not to do, or what happens when you cut the skin. So if you have been cutting the skin around the nails, sadly, it takes a long time for that skin to grow normally. So what you have to do, and it's so annoying at the beginning, just apply a lot of Vaseline or carousel oils, just anything to soften the skin, because that skin is going to get harder because you've cut it. So that transition is difficult, and I know it's difficult. But just so you know that once the skin gets better and you maintain it, I hope I'm not giving you a headache with this. It gets much, much better. So it's difficult to get over that hump, but then it's smooth sailing after that, unless you pick, obviously, like I did. See, I'm using the other side, and I never get any peeling. So the peeling comes from, again, the surface basically being not bonded very well. So the surface, sorry, the nail plate, like I said, the layers not being bonded well together, not being fused well. And that can happen for many reasons. Water exposure will break those bonds. Obviously, if you have that top layer of the nail missing because you have overfiled your nails in the past, or you had a manicurist or a nail technician overfile the nails, and I see that so much. It's so sad. People email me with such damaged nails. It's so sad because it takes such a long time for the nails to then grow out. But yeah, so if the nails are overfiled, they're going to, and then exposed to a lot of water, they're going to peel more. And then just some people are more prone to peeling. So now I'm just nudging back the skin fold. This is not a cuticle. So we're going to, I don't even have cuticle visible really. So nudging the skin, and I'm doing this very, very lightly. I'm not scraping, I'm not pushing down. You see, like I'm actually not even pressing down. I'm just kind of, the nail guides me. And then let's see how I'm holding this. So the nail guides me, and then I just nudge back the skin fold. That can be done every 3 days or so, because you don't want the skin fold to stick to the nail. Because when it sticks to the nail, you see how it is? This is like so weird. Hard skin. When it sticks to the nails, it stretches. And then it doesn't look so good. And very often people are tempted to, when they see this, to cut it, because it just looks bad. But it looks bad because it's dry right now, because I wiped the hands with, with alcohol. Normally they don't look like this. All right, so I did that. Next step. Okay, so I'm going to now try something different. I'm going to use this. And I've seen it, one of our viewers does this. So I'm gonna see how this works. So basically, without using the dropper, I wanna see how this works. It deposits quite a bit. Okay, so just a little drop onto the nail. And then you can just move that drop around and just aim your fingers down. Okay, a little drop. A little drop. So just I squeeze it. Squeeze the bottle. It's not a bad idea. Okay, so I'm going to close it. And now I am going to wait a minute or two because what's happening now is the product that I've applied on the nail, you see how I didn't apply it on the skin around the nails, because you're not removing the skin around the nails, you're just removing cuticle that is on the nail plate. So I'm going to wait for this product to do its magic. So it's going to soften, it's going to really break down. It's very alkaline. You look at the ingredients, I don't think I'm not sure. Yeah, this ingredient, this is very, very alkaline, and it's very, it breaks down the skin. So you don't want to leave it on the skin for too long, and you don't want to leave it on the nails too long. So I think they recommend putting this on and then removing the cuticle and then rinsing your hands. But I just find it really depends on how quickly you're working. Because if you are working very slowly, because you are a beginner, it may take you 5 minutes to remove the cuticle from each finger. It shouldn't, but sometimes it does. So then you're going to have this product sitting on your skin for 5 minutes. And for some people, that might be a little bit too long. And then I just realized that I didn't do this part. So now what I'm trying to do, this is important part that I didn't mention. Why I do this? Because I try to smooth the hard skin. I'm not trying to remove dry skin. That's not how you take care of dry skin, by filing and, abusing it. You just want to remove or soften or smooth the hard skin. So you see how I run my finger? And it feels softer. There's no catches. And that's it. I'm not looking if it's still looking dry. I'm just feeling for the texture. If you don't have any hard skin or anything like that, don't think you have to do it because this is a part of manicure and you're not doing your manicure properly if you're not doing this step. No. But I mean, I work a lot with my hands. So I guess this happens. Everybody's skin is different. Okay, it's been 2 minutes, so I'm going to now rinse it. Make sure that it's off the skin. I kind of rub each. And I don't dry my hands really well at this point. And this is how I do it. Just little movements like this. Isn't this like the best thing ever? So you have to do this gently, and you have to do this with a tool that's quite gentle. So I find this Tweezerman pushy is quite gentle. I have bought, I'll show you this tool. And a lot of them are available online. And this one is, I'm gonna return it because it's extremely sharp. I could use it, but I would be afraid that if someone who's not very, they don't have a very good, they don't feel the nail, I don't know how to say it. They're not as experienced. They could totally slice their nails. So if there is a little piece that's left behind, don't worry about it. So this nail. This is crazy, isn't it? So the cuticle only, it's not going to like crawl down your nail. It's just going to grow with the nail. It's stuck to the nail. So I think I haven't done like a full manicure. This is why, because I'm like, wow, this is a lot. And you know what happened? Last time when I wanted to do my nails, I just shortened my nails and I always nudge back the skin fold, and then I just repolished my nails. So they that's why they were so, I shortened them a little bit, but not that much. So it was like one of my quick manicures version. And that's why there was more cuticle, because the nail has grown, let's say this much. So there was this much cuticle on the nail. You can do it this way as well. Okay, so if there is pieces of skin, whatever like this, just leave it. Don't scrape too much. You know, working on your non-dominant hand, or working on your dominant hand, right, with your non-dominant hand, it's not easy. So this is why I really don't recommend people using electric files. It's even difficult. I don't want to say difficult. It's kind of, it's not as comfortable for me to work on myself with electric file even. So I can see how that can cause a lot of damage. Yeah, I'm looking at that tool and I'm thinking, you know what, if you had that whole area, the cuticle area, quite softened, and then you use that sharp tool, oof, I think you can do a lot of damage. And this one has a pretty good sharpness. It's sharp, but it's not too sharp. And do this slowly and do this gently, because sometimes when you're going this way, up, you can actually tear the skin here. So don't go into that corner too much. It's much easier to do this on somebody else. So someone had mentioned in the comment section that this is the actual remover that is coming off, but I don't think so, because I really rinsed it off well. So it is the cuticle that it's normally barely visible on the skin, on the nail, sorry. And I know this is tempting, right? Because you kind of want to cut it, but I know if I cut it, it's going to get worse. So I'm going to leave it. See how closely I'm holding this tool? I'm not holding it like here because I have no control when I'm holding it too far away. So you know what makes this much easier, this step, is using the carousel. Because the ointment, because a lot of people are asking, I keep saying carousel because the carousel ointment, it's just a longer name. But the ointment, the really thick ointment for the heels. Using it on a regular basis, because when you're using it on a regular basis, it exfoliates the skin around the nails a little bit very gently, and it exfoliates the cuticle as well, because, you know, the cuticle is on top of the nail plate. So it kind of loosens it a little bit. Okay, so I don't know if I use this buffer on this hand or not. I probably forgot. So you can actually use this a little bit too. And now This company actually has another one. So this is 220. This is, I believe, 120 side. But they also have 280, which I ordered. And I think the 280 is going to be better for this purpose because you have to be very, very gentle. If you want to just remove those last little pieces of the cuticle, it's better not to do it. Like if there is really not much there, sometimes you can just, even go like this, because this gives you less. This is actually a good idea. Less, because when you're going like, it's, you can overdo it. So you can just do this. So what you want to do is, well, or what I'm doing here is just making sure there is no catches, because I'm going to polish my nails with, shockingly, just a clear nail polish. So it doesn't really matter when you're doing clear polish as much. But if you're using like a red or a color that has a lot of contrast, it is, sometimes it just kind of catches on those pieces and it flows into that area. I don't know how to explain it, but it just makes a mess, basically. You know what? Think of doing this manicure and learning how to let things go. Because sometimes we're just trying to get every little piece and we're trying to be so perfect. And you just have to let it go. And that's it. Because it's easy to overdo it. So I'm going to use this. This is nitrocellulose free, and it used to peel off my nails, but it doesn't. So I don't know what happened. I don't know why it doesn't peel anymore. If you are in Europe, I recommend it. It has a bit of a weird smell, someone had mentioned. It does. If you are in the US, I highly recommend Dazzle Dry Base Coat and Top Coat for that purpose. It dries even much quicker. It's also very, very gentle on the nails. Highly recommend these two products. So instead of using any fancy wipes, I'm just going to use this. This is lint free. Just use like a, clean kitchen towel. A wipe. Okay, hold on, I'll show you. I kind of twirled this so to get off the polish off the stem. And then I removed the polish from one side, and then there was enough on the other side. And I used that on the thumb because I need more polish on the thumb. Some kind of a fluffy here. Okay, here. Okay, I'm gonna let this hand dry. By the way, Catrice brushes are pretty good. Actually, they're very good. And that really, really helps. Working with a difficult brush makes it so much more difficult. So when I kind of redip the brush, I don't redip it all the way down, all the way to the bottom of the bottle. I just redip the brush like halfway, and then I wipe. I'll show you. Halfway, I kind of look where the polish is and wipe on the other side, and now you have a good amount on this side. So fluffy again, but okay, good. Okay, I'm gonna let this dry. This takes about 5 minutes at least. It stays a little tacky for a while, so I'm going to let it dry and then apply the oil. Okay, at 5 minutes, this is dry. Still feels a little tacky. So be patient. So now I'm going to use a little bit of oil, well, a little bit, 1 drop per nail. Sometimes I actually like to even put some oil here. And the reason why is because I just used, you know, the cuticle remover, I used the alcohol, the acetone, and all these things are quite drying. My skin feels really good when I use oil after this manicure, but normally I actually put way less oil. When the polish is not like fully dry, it just looks a little weird when you put the oil on. That's kind of normal. It's going to be more shiny when it fully dries. So don't worry about this kind of a weird look. Okay, so my manicure is done, and then I'm going to use a nice cream. But I have to get up for that. So this is it for today. Thank you so much for watching the video, and hope to see you soon. Bye.